Hey everyone, welcome to my library. My name is Melissa, and today I am coming to you with my February and March wrap-up. I know it has been a long time since I have turned on the camera and filmed something. I have been so busy at work. As you guys know, I'm a tax accountant, and so currently it's busy season for me, which just means that I'm working like 10 to 12 hour days, and it hasn't left a whole lot of time for basically anything else. Yeah, and then obviously preparing for this new baby coming soon, that has been taking up a majority of my time as well. So yeah, I do apologize that I have not been as active on YouTube, but I finally found a free moment to just collect my thoughts on these books that I've read these past months, and just kind of really wanted to share my reviews for them. So let's just get into it. So I will start with the first book I read in February that I don't have a copy of, that I really do need a copy of because I loved it so much. And that is Last Christmas in Paris, a novel of World War I. By Hazel, Gaynor, and Heather Webb. So I gave this book 5 stars. I loved it. It's currently competing for my favorite book of the year so far. It was just the most romantic, like charming, just heartwarming story. It's told in letters, so it's an epistolary novel, and I listened to it, so it actually had a multicast narration. They had someone narrating for both the main hero of the story and the main heroine, but basically it's just a really charming love story between the two. They're childhood friends that end up being thrown in the wake of World War I, and the male character, I cannot remember his name, it's been so long, but he deals with some PTSD as one would, dealing in the trenches of World War I, and anyways, she's always there supporting him and being kind of an anchor for him. And then she goes through her own trials as well. And anyways, it was just, I just loved it. Like, it was the perfect historical fiction novel for me. And the letters, that format was so, sometimes it can be a little overhanded, but I actually really loved it in this story. And yeah, it hit all of the right notes for me. So I gave it 5 stars. I highly recommend. I know it sounds like a Christmas book, and it technically is, because basically they loop around to Christmas time every year and talk about what it's like. But I would say, I mean, I read it in February and I was totally fine with it. Like, it wasn't too much Christmas stuff. But maybe you're in the mood for Christmas all year, kind of like me, so you don't really care. But yeah, if you wanted to save it for Christmas, that would be a really good time to read it too. But yeah, so that was the first book I read, and highly, highly recommend. Oh my gosh, I loved it. Okay, so then the next book I read physically, and that was Jeremy Poldark by Winston Graham. So this is the 3rd book in the Poldark series. Honestly, so I haven't gotten that far in the TV series yet to know if this is, like, who this is, really. I need to figure that out. This cover is very strange to me, honestly, but it's fine. Anyways, so this is the story that continues the Poldark arc, I guess. It's rather thin, so it didn't take me too long to read. But basically in this story, Ross Poldark is facing jail time. He's facing imprisonment. And it's basically Demelza working in the background trying to free him and build up his case in court. And anyways, it starts off basically post events that happened in book 2 that caused Ross to be in prison. And so obviously you should read these in order, but I have loved my time reading the Poldark series. I really love Demelza as a character. She's just so strong, and she comes from such humble beginnings and has learned her way of socializing and maneuvering herself to help her family and help the ones she loves. And I just love it. So I can't wait to continue. The next book is much thicker, which I'm excited about. As you guys know, I love thick books. So yeah, the next book is Warligan, that's right. And I also love that there's characters in here that are supposed to be the enemy, that are supposed to be the bad guys, but it's not black and white. I would say there's likable things for every character, even the bad guys, as you would say. And that's why I can't wait to continue, because I think the next book focuses on maybe one of the more questionable characters. So yeah, I'm very eager to continue on and can't wait to. So yeah, that's the next book I read. Okay, the third book I read was also physically, and I talked about this in a vlog and also I think in a video recently too, maybe my haul video, but I read Agnes Gray by Bronte and so enjoyed it. I got this beautiful Everyman's Library edition of this book. It's a combination of her 2 novels that she wrote before she tragically passed. But yeah, so I started with Agnes Gray, and this is the story of a girl, a woman who is a governess, and all of the all of the horrible trials she goes through as a governess. It focuses a lot on that and how really looked down on and demeaning some of the people were to governesses at the time. It was kind of a historical spotlight on that, which was really fascinating. But there is also a love story in here that I just loved. That this book was recommended to me as one that is a classic that has a interwoven love story in it. It's very calm and kind of beneath the surface for most of the book, I would say, but I actually love that aspect of it. It was just a charming book. I would say it was simple, and that's kind of why I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Was I didn't feel like it earned 5 stars in my book, but I cannot wait to continue reading the next book, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Bronte. I know that one is even more loved and praised, and so yeah, I have super high hopes for it and can't wait, especially because I'll get to read it in this beautiful edition that is like, it was a highlight for sure of reading this book. I don't know why, but just like the aesthetics of this book, the font size, just everything about it was just so lovely. So anyways, yeah, this was and Agnes Gray, and I gave it 4 stars. Okay, so those were the books I read in February. So now let's talk about March. So in March, the first book that I ended up finishing was on audio. And I actually owned it physically, but I recently unhauled it, so you guys can kind of guess how I feel about it. But that is The Diplomat's Wife by Pam Jenoff. So this was a surprise for me, you guys, because this is the second book in a duology. The first book being The Commandant's Girl by Pam Jenoff. And I loved that book. Like, that book was a favorite for me. Has been since I read it. And it's actually like, maybe I can link it down below. I have my top 10 historical fiction books ever. I did that video last year, and that book is listed in there. And so I had high hopes for this continuation. I knew it picked up right where the last books ended, and so and I remembered what happened at the very end of Commandant's Girl, so I was ready. And it did start off strong. It focuses on Marta. She is a kind of side character in the first book. She works with the Resistance, and she's Jewish, and that's her storyline kind of in the first book. And then in the second book, she gets captured by the Germans and is sent into into a concentration camp. She's tortured. It's really sad. It starts off very, very sad. But then it's right at the end of World War II, and obviously everyone is liberated, including herself, and she's saved by this soldier that comes into, there's like 3 or 4 soldiers that come in and help people get out of the concentration camp. And she kind of like, they spark each other's interest, I guess you would say. They have a little bit of a like, I want to get to know you better kind of thing happening. But then she's obviously sent back to her, so she doesn't go back to Poland where she's from. She actually goes to England, and she ends up marrying this diplomat, and she is a secretary for him actually. And then through a random kind of series of events, she ends up being part of a spy operative where she's sent into, this is kind of like pre-Cold War times, but she's sent to basically negotiate a deal with this former colleague of hers. And so it's kind of a weird premise, and I would say it's a little bit convoluted. Like, why just take this random secretary that maybe knows this one guy? But then there's this also side romance in there with the previous soldier that she had somewhat of a fling with, and it was just too much to be honest with you guys. Like, it was so the story just felt so forced to me. I honestly kind of just, I didn't love it. Like, it was so unrealistic, I would say. That's what it was. And I ended up giving it 2 stars. So that was a shocker for me because I usually love Pam Jenoff's writing. But yeah, it just was too much of a adventure, spy, like romance that I could never actually see happening in real life. So yeah, that was The Diplomat's Wife. Okay, so moving on, I wanted to tackle a mammoth for March of the Mammoths, and I decided I would tackle Daniel Deronda by George Eliot. So yeah, this one's a big one. The whole concept of March of the Mammoths is you read a novel that is more than 800 pages during the course of March, or start it at least in March. So this book actually comes in right around 800 pages. I think it was like 811 pages. But yeah, I only ended up giving this 3 stars. That's still a good review. It's still like, I enjoyed my time reading this book, and I'm glad that I read it. However, it is the lowest rated George Eliot so far. I've loved some of her other novels so much more than this one. I just got lost in the weeds, to be honest with you guys, for most of the story of this book, because it focuses a lot on 2 different characters, one of them obviously being Daniel Deronda, and then the other one being Gwendolyn. And Gwendolyn, so the storyline for her is she is destitute. Her family ends up becoming destitute out of her will. Like, she didn't have anything to do with it. But because of that, and because she feels responsible for taking care of her mother, she has to find a wealthy husband. And so she's like, her family is known in society. It's not like they're like lower class or anything, but yeah, so she ends up feeling like she has to accept this marriage proposal from this man who ends up being terrible. Like, it's a horrible situation. And she earns the pity of Daniel Deronda, who ends up being kind of like a savior figure throughout the book, where there's two different people that he really, three different people that he really focuses on and tries to help in any way he can, including a girl named Myra, who he saves from, she was thinking about committing suicide. He saves her on the river and learns about her situation. And she's a Jewish girl who, I can't remember exactly what the situation was for her, why she was so distraught, but she ends up being taken under his wing and kind of sent to this family that he trusts and loves. And she ends up flourishing there. And then he is an orphan, and he relates that with Myra, because Myra is also an orphan, but she has a brother. And so they're trying to find where her brother is, and Daniel helps with that. And it's a focus a lot on Jewish culture and society, and how kind of sad it was back then, and even still today, I would say, of people looking down on that culture for some random reason. And it was just kind of talking about the suppression of Jews, and that part was interesting, but it went on very long. Like, that whole section, that whole ideology was very, yeah, it was very explored in this book, to the point of it being very kind of boring to me. But yeah, so I enjoyed this book. I can see why George Eliot wrote it. However, it just didn't hit all the right beats for me as a classic to really love. And so I'm glad I read it, but definitely not a favorite. But yeah, if that kind of fascinates you, maybe check this book out. It was a faster read. Like, I think I started it March 1st because I was that excited about starting a March of the Mammoths read. And I think I finished it March 16th or so. And so even though it's an 800-page book, it kind of flew by. And yeah, so anyways, that's my review of Daniel Deronda. That was a really kind of all over the place review. I'm sorry about that, guys, but I really love the character of Daniel, but the other side plots that were going on with different characters, I kind of didn't love, and that's kind of my general review. Okay. So the next book that I just barely finished like 3 days ago is A Peculiar Combination by Ashley Weaver. So this was my my participation in March Mystery Madness. So yeah, I really was fascinated by the synopsis of this story, and that's why I ended up listening to it. It is the story of a girl named Electra, who is, she helps her uncle pick locks. So she gets caught right away at the very start of the book. She gets caught trying to pick this safe, and her and her uncle get caught and taken to this army base, basically, where they are forced to help the British Army during World War II. This is set in World War II. Help the British Army with a what do you call it? An undercover situation where they're gonna help pick a lock for them. It's not pick a lock, but figure out the combination for a safe that they're trying to grab important documents for. So that's how the story starts, but then there's so much more that goes into it. She ends up basically, through not being willing to, but through the situation, she has a friendship with this army major who's in charge of this operation, this covert operation. She doesn't like him at first, but then she realizes how good of a man he is, and how much he cares about his country, and she does too, actually. And anyways, they have this electric chemistry that was just so much fun to listen to. There were so many moments woven throughout the story of them just like staring at each other, or her figuring out something else she likes about him and she's resisting him. And anyways, it was a very slow burn romance. They literally haven't even like done anything like at the end of the book too, because I know it's going to be a series. But wow, I just loved it. There is this scene though. I'll tell you about this scene. So the major ends up having to take her as his date to a kind of like a gala. So it's black tie event. And he is actually from kind of like the British peerage, I would say. So he's related to an earl, and he grew up very wealthy, and she did not. And so she has a, how do you say it? Like she has a skewed opinion of that. And anyway, so he takes her to this event, and obviously she wears this fancy dress, and it's kind of like a Cinderella moment, I would say. But they have to go to this event to find these documents that they need. And they're in this library. And so they're in the library, and all of a sudden they like turn around and they can hear someone coming in. And so they have to fake that they're basically having a tryst in the library. So, you know, they automatically like grasp each other and start making out. And the person comes in, and, you know, they act like they're surprised that they were coming in and stuff. And then like she thinks about that after the fact, like after the evening is over, and how much she enjoyed it, like for real. And anyways, it was so good. Like I was just living for it. It just felt so cinematic to me. That's the word for it, for sure. Anyways, so it's a mystery, but there is this interwoven romance, and it's based in World War II. So there's that element as well. And it just was perfect. I just loved it. 5 stars. So I can't wait to read the next one. The next one comes out in May. And I've already pre-ordered it, so I am ready to continue my reading of this series. But then I also know that she has another very popular historical mystery series that I will talk about in a minute. But okay, so that was a peculiar combination. So then the next book I ended up reading, I read this physically. I picked this up after I finished Daniel Deronda. And that is The Light Years by Elizabeth Jane Howard. So I recently got these beautiful British editions of these books, the UK editions. I featured them on like my community post that you guys saw. But this is the first book in a 5-book family saga series that follows the Casalets, who are a family that are wealthy. Basically picture Downton Abbey, honestly. That's what this book is. Like, each of their households has a set of servants that like serve their family, and there's 3 brothers and 1 sister, and you really do get to know each of these characters so well, and that's what I loved about it. There's not a whole lot of plot happening in this book, to be honest. It's very slow. It just focuses on they do like vacations to their summer homes, and so it focuses on what goes on during that time. And the thing I loved about this book was each character has their flaws, but they also have their redeeming qualities, and you get to see how this family operates, and their kids, and how their kids like commingle. And there's definitely more likable characters in this book that you root for the whole time. And anyways, it's set during right before World War II happened, so it's like 1938. And there's also this like pending doom, this looming knowledge that, you know, the war is going to start, but they are in denial of it. And so they don't think war is going to happen, even though all of these events are kind of leading up to it. And that kind of adds a really cool element to this story where you know more than they do. And so anyways, it makes things more bittersweet when things happen, or yeah, when there's interactions where they talk about the war or they talk about their political views. Yeah, it's just really good. This was written in the 90s, so it's an older book. But I just loved it. It was charming. It was fast paced. Like, I just kept turning the page. It was so easy to turn the page because the chapters, they're not even chapters. They're just like sections of the book that you can read really quickly. And I just loved it. If you have any interest in like family sagas, this would be a really good place to start, especially if you like historical fiction, because it's really just a mix of the two. And so, yeah, I can't wait to continue. The next book is called, what is it called? Marking Time. It's just as thick, so that'll be great. And I will probably continue in the next couple months, honestly. Maybe next month even, because I loved it so much. So yeah, that was The Light Years by Elizabeth Jane Howard. I gave this 4.5 stars. I don't think I mentioned that, but yeah, 4.5 stars for this one. Okay, so yeah, guys, those were all the books I read in February and March. And I also wanted to quickly talk about what I am reading now. This is actually being filmed a day before the last day of March, so, but I don't expect to finish any of these books in that time, so it's all good. But, so the book I'm reading physically will come as no surprise after my review of A Peculiar Combination, and that is Murder at the Brightwell by Ashley Weaver. So yeah, so this is a different series of hers. This is the first book in the series. The Amory Ames series is what it's called. So it's a historical mystery, but it's set in 1930s England, and it's set in this like British coastal resort. So yeah, I'm living for it. I'm already so down. It starts off with this woman who is very unhappily married. She knows her husband is just having flings and is out all the time. He's never actually like home. And then she gets invited by her childhood friend that actually is like her ex-fiance, to help convince his sister to not marry this complete a-hole, I guess, of a guy. And he needs her to help him because she will have a lot more influence over her, based on her own situation, I guess. And so she agrees to help him because she cares about him, and she cares about his sister as well. She grew up with both of them. So that's the first chapter. That's all I've read. So we'll see how this goes. I know there's probably gonna be, I mean, it's a mystery, so there's gonna be a murder, obviously, from the title, and she's gonna have to solve it, and we'll see how it goes. And there's probably gonna be a romance between her and this ex-fiance childhood friend of hers. So I am excited. Yeah, so that's my physical book read. Then on audio, I just started The Soldier's Girl by Sharon Mass. So I started this yesterday, and this is the story of an English nurse and a German soldier who fall in love. So yeah, I am so excited to read this. It's really good so far. It's on Audible Plus, so it's free if you guys have that like Audible subscription like edition thing that some people have. So yeah, I can't wait to continue. I think I'm actually a decent amount of the way through though. I think like I'm 2 hours into the 12-hour audiobook. So yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot, and I hope that this love story ends well. I'm a little nervous because the subtitle here says a gripping, heartbreaking World War II historical novel. Heartbreaking. I'm scared, but we will see. So yeah, there's this one. And then actually, the one last book I'm talking about is on Friday, April 1st. I plan on starting a buddy read with 3 people, 2 of whom are booktubers that I absolutely love. So we have Rainy over at Rainy Day Reads. We have Tiffany over at Beautiful Minutia. They are both channels I literally consistently watch all of their videos. Even Rainy's FlossTube videos that are about stitching and cross stitch that I don't know anything about, have never tried, I still watch them. But yeah, so those 2 booktubers, and then Amanda, she's on Instagram. Her Instagram is her Pacific Northwest Life, I want to say. It's like her PNW Life. She's also in the group chat with me and them. And we are tackling Our Mutual Friend by Charles Dickens. This is my copy of it. It doesn't have the title on the book cover, so I'm trying to show the spine that shows it. This is an absolutely beautiful book that I own though. This is the first Dickens that I ever bought. I bought it when I was in Seattle, so it has like kind of fond memories for me. I know exactly, like, I remember when I bought this book. I bought it at a Half Price Books. It was during a date night, and I found it and I loved this copy, and I was like, it's a shame I don't own a Dickens yet. I'm gonna buy it. And anyways, so it feels right that this is the first book I'll tackle too by Dickens. But yeah, it has beautiful illustrations in it throughout the book. And I just cannot wait. I've seen the BBC adaptation of this book. I grew up watching it, and so I love that story. Like, I already know that I love the story, so I have some background, which I'm excited about, because what I know about Dickens is his plots can go a mile an hour, like a mile an hour. No, a mile a minute. Like, they can just kind of, the characters and storylines can get very convoluted. And so I'm glad that I have that background before going into this book, knowing that there's going to be a lot of twists and a lot of character, like, plot lines and stuff. So yeah, but I can't wait. I really can't wait to start this book. So that will happen on Friday. It's Wednesday today. So anyways, that is everything. That is officially everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. A little bit of a catch up with me. Please let me know down in the comments below if you had a favorite read of February or March, or if you have a book you're very excited to read in April. I would love to hear. And I hope to be coming back with another video. I have a book haul I need to film, or maybe a vlog of some kind if I can fit some reading in this weekend. We'll see. But yeah, I will keep you guys updated. And as my due date becomes closer, obviously I will probably be less active here again, but I will let you guys know when that day arrives too. It'll be crazy. It's gonna be in like 2 or 3 weeks from now, hopefully. So anyways, it's just, yeah, it's happening. It's crazy. I can't believe it. But anyways, with all that being said, please like and comment and subscribe if you want to see more from me, and I will see you guys in another video. Bye.